To get started, simply log into your account by entering the username and password. Then select your language as Hindi or English and click on the login icon. After you log in, the software will open Sale Invoice page by default. On the left-hand side, you will see the following tabs. The first tab is Sale Invoice. Here you can enter details to generate sale invoice. Next tab is View Sale Invoices. Here you can view, edit or delete sale invoices. Next tab is Receipt Voucher. This is there to view, edit, delete or generate receipt voucher. Next tab is Refund Voucher. Here you can view, edit, delete or generate refund voucher. Next tab is Delivery Challan. Here you can view, edit, delete or add delivery challan. Next tab is Credit or Debit Note Issued. Through this, you can see previously issued credit and debit notes. Next tab is Purchase Invoice. Here you can create purchase invoice. Next tab is View Purchase Invoices. Here you can view, edit or delete purchase invoice. Next tab is Credit or Debit Note Received. Under this tab, user can search the debit or credit note and can see the recent debit and credit notes received by him. Next tab is GST Returns. Here you can upload and download GSTR forms. Next tab is Reconciliation. Here you can view and reconcile data from counterparty GSTR forms. Next tab is ITC Ledger. Here you can view ledger details. Next tab is Sync. Through this tab, you can sync data with the server. Next tab is My Profile. Here you can view or edit your account details. Next tab is Log Out. By clicking on this tab, user can log out from the account. So, let's start with the first tab, which is Sale Invoice tab. Here, under the Basic Info section, you have to enter the details of the supplier. The sale invoice number and sale invoice date are auto-populated. Then, there are two options, B2B invoicing and B2C invoicing, wherein B2B is selected by default. After this, you have to select whether reverse charge is applicable on it or not, whether it is an advance invoice, whether TDS is applicable on it or not, whether the supply is made through an e-commerce portal, whether it is an export supply, whether delivery challan is issued for the supply or not. Next, you have to enter the receiver details and the system fetches up previously used details as frequently used data if it matches with the entry, or else you have to manually enter the receiver details. Then you can select whether the receiver is a composite user or not and check whether the consignee is same as receiver. If it is same as receiver, it will be auto-populated. Otherwise, you have to enter the consignee details manually. You can also search and select items from the most recently used supplies. Then, under the Invoice Details section, you can enter the details of the goods that you are supplying. Auto-fill function is also given here for users' ease. Details are mentioned below. Name of the supply, type of supply. Here you have to select that the items you are supplying are goods or services. Under the type, you have to select whether the supply is a GST supply, non-GST supply, exempt supply or nil rated supply. HSN or SAC code of the item, quantity of the item, unit, rate on which you are supplying the good, discount percentage that you are offering to your buyer, other charges, total, the various GST applicable percentage as per the HSN, which is 5, 12, 18 and 28. Following this, IGST will be auto-calculated based on the GST percentage. IGST in rupees will also be calculated. The cess applicable on the product and finally the total price will also be auto-calculated. If there are multiple products, you can use the Add More option. and enter its details as was shown for the previous product. You can delete the same if not needed. In the Other Details section, you can see the total GST applicable and what is the invoice value. On the below right-hand side of the page, you can enter the sale invoice subject and additional information, which will help you in identifying the invoice on the later date. Below, click on Cancel to cancel the form. Click on Submit to submit the form. By clicking on the Submit button, user can view and print the invoice. By clicking on the Add More button, user can add another invoice, and by clicking on Finished button, user will be directed back to the sale invoice page. By clicking on the View and Print button, the details you entered earlier will be visible. Here, by clicking on the Print Tax Invoice button below, your invoice will get generated, which you can print by clicking on the Print button, and by clicking on the Close button, you can close the invoice. After Sale Invoice tab, the next tab is View Sale Invoices. Here you can see all the invoices which have been entered into the system. You can find the invoice by entering the invoice number, receiver name, GSTIN of the receiver, state of the receiver, date, or any other matching criteria to search the respective invoice. You can also view the invoice by selecting the View button, which will give the invoice in a non-editable format. You can click on the Edit button to edit any invoice, and by clicking on Cancel button, you can cancel the invoice. When you click on Cancel button, the invoice will move to the Cancelled Invoice section. After View Sale Invoices tab, we move to the next tab, which is Receipt Voucher. Here you can enter a new receipt voucher, which will be required in case of receipt of any advance. You can search the receipt voucher by entering the receipt voucher number, receiver name, GSTIN of the receiver, state of receiver, date, or any other matching criteria to search the respective receipt. You can see previously entered receipt voucher under Receipt Voucher Manager. Here, user can view the receipt voucher, can edit the receipt voucher, can change the log, and can cancel the receipt voucher. By clicking on the Add New button, a new receipt voucher can be added by filling the details of the receiver and the item against which you are receiving the advance, and by clicking on Submit button, the receipt voucher will get generated. By clicking on the Back button, user can get back to the receipt voucher main page. Here, under the Cancelled Receipt Voucher section, user can see the cancelled receipt vouchers. After Receipt Voucher tab, we move to the next tab, Refund Voucher. Here, you can create a new refund voucher, which would be required in case you are refunding any advance. You can search a refund voucher under Search Criteria section and can add New Refund Voucher by clicking on the Add New button. Similar to the receipt voucher, you can add details of refund voucher, but here you also have to enter the amount which is getting refunded, and by clicking on the Submit button, a new refund voucher will get generated. After Refund Voucher, the next tab is Delivery Challan. Here you can see and search a delivery challan. By clicking on the Add New button, you will be directed to another page where you have to enter the consignee details and details of the delivery challan. By clicking on the Submit button, a new delivery challan will be created. After Delivery Challan tab, the next tab is Credit or Debit Note Issued. Here you can see previously issued credit and debit notes and cancelled debit and credit notes. To enter a new credit or debit note, you need to go to View Sale Invoices tab and click on the Create Debit or Credit Note button. After clicking on this button, the debit or credit note creation screen will appear. By clicking on the Show Invoice button, you will be able to see the invoice against which debit note and credit note has been generated. The user can enter the debit or credit note details here and click on the Save button to generate a new debit or credit note. After Credit or Debit Note Issued tab, the next tab is Purchase Invoice. Enter the invoice number and supplier details here. After entering the supplier details, system fetches up previously used details if it matches with the entry. Here also you can fill up the invoice number, GSTIN of the supplier and click on the download icon. You can search and select most recently used products from the most recently used supplies column. In case the counterparty has already uploaded the sales invoice and synced it with the server, the buyer can automatically download these details and save himself from entering all the data again manually. User can enter all items in the invoice details section. Auto functionality is also implemented here for users' ease. After filling all the details in the invoice details section, user can add more items by clicking on the Add More button on the page. Just like the sale invoice, user can fill other details which will help in identifying the purchase invoice. Here also you have three options: to cancel or submit the form, or go to the previous page by clicking on the back icon. After Purchase Invoice tab, the next tab is View Purchase Invoices. Here you can see the entire purchase invoices that you entered in the system before. You can enter the invoice number, supplier name, GSTIN of supplier, state of supplier, date or keyword to search the respective invoice. In the Invoice Manager section, you can see details of recent purchases. By clicking on the Create ITC Reversal or Reclaim button, user can reverse the credits that have been availed earlier. You have to enter the reversal percentage and the system will automatically generate the reversal amount, and you can click on Save button to save the reversal. By clicking on the Back button, you will come back on View Purchase Invoices page. Here, you can also reverse the credit which you have availed against this particular purchase by clicking on this Reversal button. You can create debit or credit note and can also view, edit and cancel the purchase invoice. In case you purchased an item from an unregistered person, then you will be required to raise a payment voucher, which can be done by clicking on the Pay button. Clicking on the Pay button will take you to a new page where you are required to enter the payment amount. After entering the amount, click on Submit button to create a payment voucher. After View Purchase Invoices, the next tab is Credit or Debit Note Received. You can search the debit or credit note and can see the recent debit and credit notes received by you under this tab. Here you can view, edit and cancel the credit or debit note receipt. You see the cancelled note under the Cancelled Debit or Credit Notes section below. After Credit or Debit Note Received tab, the next tab is GST Returns. Here user can upload, download and view summary of GSTR1, GSTR2 and GSTR3. GSTR1 is the statement of your outward supply return. You have to select the month and the year to download, upload and view summary of GSTR1. Similarly, GSTR2 will be used to file details of your inward supplies. Here also you have to select the month and the year and can download, upload and view summary of GSTR2. Similarly, you can file return for GSTR3 on a monthly basis. The GSTR3 button will only be activated on 20th of any month. After GST returns, the next tab is Reconciliation, where you can reconcile sales data, debit and credit note issued data, purchase data and debit and credit note received data with that of counterparty details. For sales reconciliation, click on View Reconcile Data button under Outward Invoice Sale Reconciliation. Here, one section shows the taxpayer's information and the other shows the counterparty information. Taxpayer information contains all the information which you have entered earlier, and under the counterparty information, the system is showing the errors that the counterparty has not filled the details. Here, you can accept the counterparty information, can modify the counterparty information, and you can reject the counterparty information. Similarly, by clicking on the View Reconciled Data under Outward Debit or Credit Notes Sale Reconciliation, you can see the outward debit or credit sale reconciliation and the errors which are there. Similarly, you can view reconciled data for inward invoice or purchase reconciliation and inward debit or credit notes purchase reconciliation. After reconciliation, the next tab is ITC Ledger. The ITC Ledger will show the opening balance of the user. User can download ITC Ledger and can also download ITC Reversal Ledger. After opening the downloaded ITC Ledger, you can see all the details of the credit that you have received and all the tax liability under Tax Liability section. After ITC Ledger tab, next tab is Sync. By clicking on the Sync Now button, you can sync all the data stored on your system to the server. Here, the system will ask for an OTP, which will be sent to your registered mobile number. After sync, the next tab is My Profile. Here you can see and edit your profile details, change the password, and edit the address. Under Audit Trail section, after filling the date, you can download and check what the audit trail of the system is, who has used it, and when it was used. Under the Generate Report section, user can download Sale Invoice Register. After downloading it, user can see all the sale invoices generated. Similarly, you can download Purchase Register, all the details of the supplier, all the details of the receiver, debit notes issued, and credit note issued. After My Profile, the last tab is Log Out. By clicking on this tab, user can log out from the account.